My name is Debbie Johnson. Couldn't have a more common writer name if I tried. so um, I am. I, Let me back up. I'm a graphic designer. I have had my own company for, gosh, I just realized almost 25 years. And I'm a karate instructor, so I'm not sure how those two things go together. I actually own a local dojo. We have about 400 students. And we were just named Best of the Inland Empire, so that's exciting.
Yay.
And I did a lot of writing for um, children. I have a couple of children's books, book of poetry, a chapter book, and a middle grade that I'm shopping. But the more I spend time with the kids, the more I realize that's not what I should be writing. They're probably the hardest audience you could have. They're very very difficult, and they'll call you out. You talking honesty, they'll call you out on anything, absolutely anything. And I found also I was enjoying writing some novels, so I have some that I'm working on. And then you asked me to bring my chicken soup books, so I've been lucky, and I've been published. It's in 6 of the chicken soup books.
Wow.
So, but 3 of them have the same story in it that I wrote. So they came to me after they had published one. They said, we really want to reprint it in another one. We love that story, which I took as a big compliment. They remembered it there's 101 stories in every chicken soup book, and they get a lot of submissions on it. So I took it as a compliment. And then recently they reprinted that same story in the 3rd one. Of course, the catch is they don't pay you.
Oh.
Except for the first one. And so I do wonder, are they scouring old copies going, okay, how can we make another book? But still, it looks nice. This is directly off my bookshelf. So it looks nice on some kind of resume.
Story that they love so much? Tell us what you wrote about
It was
why.
the one that I almost didn't send in, actually. It's I was raising 4 kids on my own. It's a long story, but basically, I have no family out here, and I was raising them, and I had a lot of sleepless nights. I'd get up and I would clean house. I would balance my checkbook. I'd do all the things because I just couldn't sleep, and so you run out of things to do. You've balanced it. You've cleaned as much as you can without waking them up. And so I like to paint. And so we had moved. I had set up my painting table. I had this huge kitchen. Made no sense. So I put the painting table in there. And then I would start painting during the middle of the night. And I would hide it so the kids wouldn't see it when they got out. And they did notice, because like I said, kids notice everything. And they'll call you out on everything. And they said to me one day, Mom, you're a lot nicer when you're painting. And I, of course, went to, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mother. I've been so mean to you. And, they're like, no, you're just nicer. We noticed it. And it was sort of a little bit learning to take care of yourself, and which I struggle with. And so that's what it's about. And which is why they put it in making me time. They also put one in the same time period, The Joy of Less, which my children did not like the story. I terminated my cable bill. They kept raising the prices. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I've got more bills than I have income. We're cutting that one. And my kids, most of them are much older. I thought I could hook up an antenna. I didn't know how to hook up an antenna. So they just had no TV over the entire summer. And I'm working and my phone's ringing at work and I'm like, can't have any more phone calls. Gotta stop. And then the phone quit ringing. I'm like, oh, they killed each other, right? Okay, I'll find out when I get home. And they had started doing things like making their own board games, writing their own plays and performing them. They were doing amazing things. Of course, they still say that was like the worst summer of their life. But so if you're looking for chicken soup to write for them, think of things like that in your life. And that's what they're looking
Maybe
for.
I should pull a couple out here.
And I have found that when you write it, include dialogue. So of course you're having to go back, and it's like writing a memoir. You don't remember exactly what was said, but you remember the spirit of the conversation, and you can put it in like that. So if you're looking for chicken
So
soup,
you think it's okay to make up dialogue?
it is okay. As long as you make them say what they would have said, right? I did not have my children say, "Mom, you are the most amazing mother in the world." They just said I was nicer. So they didn't say that until they had their own children. Then it changes. But you can, all kinds of topics you can do in chicken soup. All you have to do is go to their website, look for submissions, and develop patience, because they take a long time to get back to you. One of them, I thought they just didn't, they were never going to do it. And it took forever.
Do they allow you to keep your rights to what you?
No.
Okay.
So, but they're also only looking for about 1,200 words, and I can do 1,200 words in 30 minutes. So I'm kind of like, it's not the end. That's why they could reprint it and not pay you for it. If I went to them and said, could I use it somewhere else, they might, but they're good to write for, in that they give you a monthly newsletter. You know, you can go promote books places. And they'll put it in the newsletter. They give me a heads up on when they're looking for stories now, so I know what they're looking for. For me, humor seemed to work better than, serious, but there's lots of sad, serious stories in there too.
Yeah.
So, it seems to be like an older avenue of getting published now. You say to someone, really young, what's chicken soup? But having read them all for a long time, it just seemed like a fun place to start.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit of credibility.
Right.
I met with an agent, oh man, it was just before COVID. And when you're querying and you're sending things in, like, have you been published? And I'm like, I've only been in a couple of chicken soup books. They said, would you please take the word only out of that sentence? Don't put that in your query letter to me. You gotta realize that means someone else liked your writing, and so it gives you validation. So it is a good avenue to go if that's what you're looking for. So, but you wanted to talk about editing and stuff today.
Well, because there are varieties of types of editing.
There are.
And it's important to know, as a writer, what do you want of your editor? And the editor needs to know, where do I go?
And some
How
people
broad
only
or how
do
narrow do
some
I-
kinds of editing. A good developmental editor is going to look at the overarching, and look at the whole story, but they're not going to look at line edits, or they're just going to say to you, your character here hasn't had enough change here, and they're going to help you kind of keep on track that way.
Would you like to explain then, like take a category and then break it down?
Mm-hmm. So let's start with developmental editing, and I kind of made notes so I didn't kind of go. It's focusing on the overall content of it, nonfiction, taking into consideration, well, the pertinent stuff being, content being included is correct. That doesn't mean they're going to fact check you, but they're going to call you and say, or call you out and say, you need to go verify this fact, or would they have used that word here, because they're looking at the bigger content.
Are you talking about nonfiction now?
Nonfiction. In fiction, they're looking at the overall story, the arc of the story. The developmental editors,
Okay.
that's where just developmental editors, and they're looking at big picture. They might be able to tell you where you have flaws in your story, where you need to look at things, but they're not going to go into the line edits, and they're not going to go into the copywriting edit, and I'll cover each of those separately. But so think of them as, looking down, the big picture is what they're looking at. You've got a kind of newer category, authenticity reads, and that's are you writing authentically about people and their characteristics? For example, if a male is writing a female character, they're going to be looking and seeing, and vice versa, we probably all do it, but are we writing them more authentically? My gut tells me, and everything I've looked at, most people don't do that kind of editing with their book. Their beta readers are going to call them out on that. They're going to say, that doesn't sound like, my husband would never in a million years have said those words, right? So why are you writing a male character that says that? So I don't think it's used as much now, and I think it's kind of like cultural appropriation, which they're looking at for sensitivity readers and things like that. It became one of those big things that everybody was focusing on, and how can you write a story when you aren't that person? What's the current one? Yellowface? And they wrote about someone they're culturally not. But if you look at that, then we'd all look at it in the mirror and go, I could only write about, I can't write about anything else other than a white woman. Well, that's not true, because I can write a male character. You guys, I see a man sitting there, you can write a woman. We're just going to help you out if you get it, if you need a little help on what would a woman really say. That's what that kind of editing is for. I don't see it as heavily used. And I don't see agents asking for that. Have you done that? If you are looking to query, and you're sending it out to agents, then you would want to mention you've had it professionally, developmentally edited. You've had it, line copy done, line edits, revising the language to suit your intended audience, and improving the flow of the text, but does not include detailed edit of the text. So a good example of that is, if, let's say, we had a scientific paper, and we're trying to include that in the book, Lessons in Chemistry. I don't know if anyone's read any part of it. I haven't finished it. It got too slow. But there's chemistry jargon in there, which all sounds very good, and I'm sure that would have to go under some kind of editing to make sure she got it right, although I think she was a chemist. But now I need to translate it so the rest of us know what it means. So that's what that person's looking at, so that they understand what is in it. What you wrote, you could have given us a lot of legal terms and things, and some of us have been going, I don't know what that means, and then that editor, the line editor, go, well, here maybe you want to put, comma, and tell us what it is, so that the rest of us understand it, because we all come from our own place of what we know. I mean, you didn't do it, I'm just using your paper as an example. So that would be your line edits, so that they're going, okay, I don't get this, it doesn't run smooth.
My next paper on the court system can include that.
Yeah, and you see, then you'd be looking, going, oh, I don't get what that, what that term means. Could you explain it? Now, copy edits is where you're getting into punctuation and the grammar and all that kind of thing. And it's also going to deal with consistency and clarity. And I have a very good friend who's a copy editor, and she will read the sentence. 12 of us will read the sentence, and we all knew what you meant. No, because you don't have your subject and your verb in the right place. You just said that person. I'm like, no, I didn't. Everyone understood it, but grammatically it's not correct. So line editor is looking at, does the subject and the verb, are they in the right place? Does it make sense? They're looking at the nitty gritty. So you've gone from, the big telescope looking out, and now we're not under the microscope. So if you go from your beginning of developmental, proofreading, which a lot of people, we all proofread everything, right? Except for emails we send out. We proofread it. That last minute, did I catch something? and then plenty of books go to print, and someone's yelling, "How did we not catch this typo? How did we not catch?" And it's also going to look at page layout. So that's where it's going to come into too. Now you guys have done your anthology, and you did it, right?
Yes.
You know how things shift and move, and
Oh,
you're
yes.
like, I thought it was all perfect,
Yes.
and then I did that next sweep.
Right.
And how did that shift to that page? That
Right.
chapter should have been here, and that should have. There's your proofreading, and that's not.
It's formatting that you have to put
Yeah,
into.
but yeah, you're looking at the formatting, but now you're going every
Yeah,
tiny
yes.
little. I thought that was an A there. No, that's really an O.
Right.
Let me change it. Even though line edits should have called it. Plenty of books. I mean, we probably all can think of one. We've been sitting here going, "There's a typo there." How did that get past 12
I think I
or 15
republished
people?
that maybe 5 or 6 times after it was published once, and then catching something, and then fixing it, and then
Yeah, it's
resubmitting the
terrible.
manuscript into the KDP, and then
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how many times you do it, and you are so diligent, and there's going to be one,
Yeah.
and there's going to be the person who
Right.
says, "It's right
Right.
there," and you don't see what you've looked at.
Yeah, 2 eyes. We had 2 eyes going on this manuscript before it was published. My husband was very, very good at scrutinizing details, so we were both looking at it at the same time. But it was very helpful.
Yeah.
You can't do it all by yourself.
No, and as I mentioned, I'm a graphic designer, and one of my favorites is I'll do a business card for somebody, and I will cut and paste the information they gave me into what I'm working in. I'm not even retyping their phone number. I've cut and pasted. I assume you know what your number is because I don't. And then we will go through like 5 passes of this, and then they'll look at me and say, "Well, the number's wrong."
Oh,
Right.
How many times did you? Because you see what you want to see.
Yeah.
And when I'm working into the design side of things, which I think is like, think of it as like the proofreading side of it, I'm seeing chunks of things now. I'm seeing colors. And I'm not seeing the tiny little things all the time, which is why multiple people. I mean, a published book has got so many people that look at it, and they still make mistakes. So then how do you not make the mistakes? That's the big question. We're all human. We're going to make them. That's how we learn. That's what I tell my students anyway. We learn from our mistakes. But when you're editing, you do have different tools you can use. Do you guys read your work aloud when you edit or when you're editing it? And I don't mean
if I
into
have
the
an actual
final
book,
edit.
If I have an actual book that I want to publish, I do read it out loud.
While you're writing it, do you guys write all the way through, or do you write and edit as you go? I know what everybody says you're supposed to do.
me, I'll write it and then go back through and try to fix it. But I'm always having the Google or Microsoft read it back to me. And then sometimes I'll change the voice from male to female just so I could hear what it sounds like in the opposite gender. And no, let's change that word. Oh, wait, it needs a comma there.
Good,
There
good.
should have been a pause. There's something like that. So,
And those things are great to do. Yeah, I've turned mine into male voice the other day, and
Yeah.
I'm like, he sounds like a robot. I could not even
Also, you're
listen
talking
to
about
this
Word actually
in Word reading
Yeah.
it to you.
Yourself
But-
reading it out loud, but the program itself reading it out loud to
It-
you.
But I also read it out loud.
Well, both.
So I do both. But I don't. Everyone says write the whole thing, then go back and edit it. I don't do that.
Yeah.
My schedule is like super crazy. So when I write, I always know where I'm headed the next day. I'm talking like on a novel. And then I go back and read the chapter I wrote the last time I wrote and edit it, and just not huge but enough to just change it up a little bit. And then I start writing again. So I'm getting lots of sweeps on my edits.
oh yeah,
Sorry, I'm trying to get.
there we
farther
go.
away.
Sorry.
Here.
There you go.
The more the
Closer.
merrier.
Oh.
To the table. Closer to the table.
I thought you meant go
No,
down
no,
further.
no.
Okay.
Soon you'll be over there.
Yeah, it's okay if you gotta put baby in the corner. Just kidding.
but I know the reference. Yeah, reading it out loud. And one thing I picked up from podcasts, which I really liked, was change your font. When you're like completely finished and now you're reading it like from, I read from cover to cover at that point. I print it out and just sit and read it with my little pink pen because pink is my favorite color. So every little pink line on there doesn't disturb me. I'm like, okay. And sometimes I'm changing just so I add pink, I think. But that's a whole nother issue. So I go cover to cover and then I input my changes. And then I use a Remarkable, which is what this is. Because I can handwrite with it and I can type into it.
What is that?
It's, for example, for my notes today, it has no actual internet other than Bluetooth, so I'm not distracted by anything else. I can write in it. This I typed because I did go get I didn't, my husband got me for my birthday, the folio that goes with it, so I can stand it up, which I'm always awkward with.
So it's like an
And I can
iPad,
type, sort of like an iPad.
but called Remarkable.
It's a Remarkable. I don't have all the other, I don't have any way to put apps on it, so I'm not doing anything else on it. If I were to, I can just open a file and I can write on it, and it will translate it digitally for me. So I can either make it into just a handwritten PDF, or it will type the words out. Gotta be careful with your handwriting. When I get really writing, it gets bigger and so it'll put in a word. I'm like, what was that word? That's not what I wrote. But it is pretty cool for that. But from an editing standpoint, it is worth its weight in gold for me because do I have one on here that I'm working on or worked on or and it's just another way to look at it. Do you guys read on a Kindle?
I do.
So I would equate it to reading on the Kindle. I want my files. So that I can look at it that way. And you can see I've got all kinds of things. Most of them are writing.
Is it its own word processor?
It's yeah, essentially I guess you would call it that. I wonder if I deleted it off.
So it creates like a dot.
I can download it from my computer. I paid for the memory service on it, so I can slide between my computer and this. So I have my PDF on my laptop. I slide it into here. This is like chapter 81 of what I was working on, and if I look, then I could just go make my hand little, put it in there. So that gives me a different way of looking at it, because if I only look at the printed version, I don't see it the same way. Kind of like you don't see the phone number.
Yeah.
So I work both. I mean, it's a lot of, I don't know how many edits I end up doing. Not as many as other people. I should probably do more. But I mean, I was just listening to someone, they do like, they're figuring they did 15 edits on their book before they ever sent it off. I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of the book by about the third or fourth read through that I'm like, it's a terrible story. No one's ever going to want
So
it.
has grammar help in that? Like
No.
Grammarly? No.
Nope,
It doesn't?
nope,
No.
nope. Yeah, and so it really leaves you to, you could share this between people. If you made notes here, you could shoot them to everybody. I can email them to, from a writer. A lot of business people use this for business because how many notebooks do you guys have? Are you guys notebook people?
Notebook is in what?
And like you've got a notebook in front of you.
Oh, I've got tons.
I have
That's
tons
how
of them,
I
right?
am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go to a conference and I make notes, and then, 6 months later, I'm like, man, what did they say? What notebook is in it?
Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
But this has individual notebooks in it. And I'm not here to sell the product, by the way. But I
Well,
think
we're
it's an
excited about it.
interesting tool. I mean, it's not cheap, I'm not going to lie. But those are only some of the notebooks that I have. And so I can work multiple projects at
So
the
you're
same
saying
time.
that when you handwrite, let's say notes for yourself, it will translate the notes, it'll, like you can hold it up to like a camera thing?
Nope, it does it right here.
How
Let's
does it
see.
translate it into
Let's do
print?
notebook. Let's do lined medium. Let's
Do you want to skip
create
No.
it. Who wants to make some notes? You volunteer? Okay, so I gave you lines so it would be even. Oh, but if I don't have internet, if I don't have Wi-Fi,
Oh.
let's see. Let me see.
I
No,
can
no.
give you my Wi-Fi.
Let's see. So
Code.
she's okay. So it's got
This
notes.
is Once Upon a Time.
Once upon a time, and then I would tell it that I want to. Whoops! I always screw this part up. I shouldn't. I don't have the Wi-Fi. Well, let me
I
show
can
you
give it
what
to you
I
if you
can.
want.
I can show you one that it did it on.
Okay.
Give me a second, and I'll find
Sure.
one for you. Okay, so things to do, quick sheets. You don't want to see that. Well, technically, it did it on this one. I
Can you make
I
it go
can
back to
write it out.
handwriting?
I could have if I hadn't deleted the page.
Oh.
So it'll insert it in between. I'll find you one now that I told you that it does it. But I have to remember what I did.
It just has the ability to
It has the ability
handwriting
to
into
print, right.
text.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is really cool,
That
except
is
for
so
where it messes up. The neater
if the-
you write,
Oh, yeah,
the better it
of
is.
course.
Print is
Sorry.
easier for it to read, I think, than cursive
Sure.
because it's blockier.
Okay.
But it does start to learn your handwriting.
Oh.
And there are other programs that'll
Wow.
do that. But it starts to learn your,
AI.
I'm not wild about AI, but it does start to learn it. So, and it's a cool tool. But even like if you have a Kindle, you can pop your stuff on your Kindle and read it there. This
Is it
one just
formatted
takes
like
it.
Kindle so you can see what it looks like as a Kindle? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't do it because I use this, but you know what? It's different reading on a Kindle than a book.
Yeah.
I have friends that are just strictly just. How can you read a Kindle? Because I can have 12 books in my bag.
Yeah.
And when I don't have anything
And it's
to
less
do, I
expensive to
can
buy
read.
someone's
It
book as a
is.
Kindle if they have it available.
Yeah.
Which is what I do.
I get free books every month.
Ah, see, how do you
You know,
compare that?
Amazon says, "You spend enough money, I'll give you a free book." Actually, if you have Prime, you get a free book every month. Some
Well,
months
no, I
too.
did not know that.
Yeah,
If you have Prime. Just
if you have Prime, check it out.
I will.
Yeah. So, and since I buy lots of books every month, then I can tell my husband I didn't spend as much money. See, I got
Yeah.
a free book today. But yeah, for editing, do you guys use beta readers?
She was just telling me about her beta readers. They're not very responsive. But she's
That's
a
the
good.
problem.
She's a really good writer, so I don't understand. They're just lazy. I'm sorry.
It's
Because
okay.
I enjoy her storytelling, so I'm just sad for her. Except for one.
When you get it, when you are beta readers, someone you know, or how do you find them?
I've tried both. Yeah.
I think they're less responsive when you don't know them, and then they're not always as honest when you do. But if you can find a good, honest one that you know, my best friend will like rip it to shreds. I'm like, got a new book for you to read.
How much does she charge?
She's really honest. No, I don't pay her.
Oh.
I give her a book later.
I see.
But I think that's a really important thing because
Yeah.
we all think we have explained it really well in the story, but
Yeah.
people's perceptions of what you just wrote or what you said or whatever, they hear it way differently.
Yeah.
It makes logical sense to us,
Yeah.
but you need the beta readers. Many years ago, I told an entire classroom or dojo full of students, touch your toes. Now, we had just spent, 5 minutes, put your feet together, touch your toes. The entire classroom bent down and touched their toes. And every parent left because they did exactly what I just told them to do. I didn't want them to bend down and touch their toes. I wanted their feet together, touch your toes. I'm just trying to find another way to say it.
Right.
But what they heard was reach down and touch your toes.
Right.
It's like, but I didn't say that. I spent 5 minutes explaining touch your toes together. Just touch your toes.
Wow.
So they
Phrasing is
don't,
really important.
they
Yeah.
don't, what we think is clear, to quote my husband, is as clear as mud.
Ah.
You know, and really, and I hate when he's right, but he's right. So,
Yeah.
you know, what's the hardest part of the process for you guys? Maybe the editing process.
Well, I went through it with book one and published book one, but I had come across a lady who used to she was homeschooling, and she said that she would find typos in newspapers, and she, you know, every single flyer she grabbed, she would find something wrong with it. And I said, well, would you mind reading a couple of my paragraphs or my chapters? And oh, I'd love to do that for you. And so I found someone who didn't know anything about my testimony. All she knew was from the day I walked into their church, you know. And and she was a very very unflawed lady, I guess you could say. And my testimony before the Lord found me was quite chaotic. And so she had a lot of feedback. She had a lot of, okay, Raina, you mentioned your brother's name in book number, or in chapter 3, but that was a shock to me. I didn't know anything that you even had a sibling except for the one that died. You know what I mean? Okay, so in the first chapter, I was like, you know, my sister Jody, my sister Tawny, my brother. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than just my sister died, something like that. So she was very, and then there was others, because I had prayed about it first, and then there was other parts where she was like, Raina, you are such a good writer that you literally have me in your shoes, and I am watching this, and at one point, I'm sorry, but I had to go like that, because she's like, you described it too well. And she said, so for me, you might want to tone it down a little. And I'm like, okay, but that was part of the impact. The Lord told me to just like lay it out there, you know.
And there's another writer who has beta readers, and he said they get so engrossed in the story that they forget that they're supposed to give proper feedback. They just they're so involved in the story. He's a good writer, Dennis. Not.
Yeah.
How do you give it to them for them to read it?
With her, I was sending it to her email, and then she would print it out and then bring me. We would sit for coffee and go over the notes. And she taught me a lot. Like one of my favorite things that she taught me was, don't put this line right here. You're putting a carrot in a cookie jar. Oh, okay. The carrot don't belong in that cookie jar.
Maybe.
So I started taking the carrots out when I would catch them and things like that. But at that moment, I had beta readers, people that knew me then and people that knew me a little longer, and they were all given feedback, and they were all asking, I need more chapters, I need more chapters.
Was the feedback consistent?
Yes.
See, that's a very good sign. That's a very good sign.
Yeah, this
'Cause
one
the
I'm
problem
getting
is sometimes
nothing.
it's all. When I give this one particular person mine to read, I give it to them in a notebook printed out with a purple pen because that's her favorite color, and I give her little flags, and I'm like, go to town. So she doesn't forget she's supposed to do it.
Okay, yeah.
I kind of like, to your point, they forget, are they reading it or not? So it feels more homeworky maybe. So she doesn't forget to.
Yeah.
I don't like the word sepia. Would you put brown colored? Like,
Right.
No, I won't.
I think with these, with the beta readers that I was very hopeful was going to give some feedback. Dennis had brought half the manuscript to each of them, you know, and they had their own little folder and everything. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if you're a believer or not, but all of a sudden the enemy just started attacking them and they just couldn't get to it. I'm like, okay. My goal may not be the end of the year, but my goal is still the end of the year.
There you go.
And she has one book already.
Yeah.
It's already published, so she has a series.
Yeah.
So they just
I'm-
weren't the right readers.
Okay.
They just
Keep
weren't the
looking.
right readers. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's really hard. I gave one to my sister and she loved it. And my sister and I are more like this. So
Yeah.
that she loved it was kind of like, that's nice. The last one I gave her to read, she said, thanks for letting me read it. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
big statement there. She
Yeah.
hates it. That's okay. She's not my reader. And I know that.
Okay.
And everybody's not going to like everything we write, and they are going to disagree
Right.
with it. And I know that the one that I want to shop really badly, I want to shop it, probably is going to have a lot of people that don't like it. And that's okay, then they're not my target. It's not religious, but it is, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, when you die, you're going one or two places.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the whole book is about.
Wow.
And so if you don't like that, I didn't sugarcoat it and,
Right.
there's two places.
Right.
Figure it out. Your life just told you where you're going.
Yeah.
Your choices in your life, I should say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then they probably weren't the right readers. There's someone else out there. The hard thing is, when you, if you pick family, they always say don't let your family do it. But sometimes, your husband's probably the best person to go behind it, My husband not. He just doesn't, he's got a story I wrote 5 years ago, still sitting on his desk. He won't read. I'm like, man. My son, however, who is a really good writer, he'll go through it and go, okay, Mom. And he gave me some ideas and input into,
Yeah.
because there's some music in there. Mom, you got to go listen to this. You got to go listen.
Yeah.
So sometimes, sometimes family is the right, and sometimes they're not.
Right.
But then there's this whole thing now about paying for readers.
Yeah.
And I'm old school. That doesn't sit right with me, because I just paid for your opinion. And what is your opinion going to be? This is my opinion. But if I paid you, you're going to tell me it's good.
Ah. True.
Because I want to get paid again. And
True.
maybe there's some really honest ones out there. I don't know. But that's how I look at it. So
That makes sense.
but
Are there any other categories of editing that you?
that pretty much gives it all. I mean, that's covering it. You're self-publishing, then you need tons of eyes on it. You can hire editors. Like I said, I have a friend who that's all she does. But she does a lot of doctoral things and different kind of, footnotes and this and that. And I'm like, I just got to get my comma in the right place. That's all I need, Donna. I just need my comma in the right place. But
you edit too.
I do. It's my least favorite part of the writing process, but it's harder to do for yourself. So doing it for someone else is easier. Because, we're not supposed to, but we become very enamored of our own words. And I like that word there, and that word is going to stay. And then it's like, but it didn't really work. Do you guys do searches of your document? See what your most used words are?
Mm-mm.
I've looked for a particular word though, and I discovered that was an option in the program. Oh, I can type in this word, and it will show me all of where it's at.
Yeah.
Are you saying to see if it's duplicating too much, or what?
Yeah, are you overusing it?
Overusing
Like,
the word. Yeah.
I don't know what is with the latest iteration of Word, but even when I put it to informal, it's still trying to correct things that you just know. I'm writing dialogue; it's not perfect because we don't speak perfectly.
Exactly.
And they really object to the word "so" being used ever, and I'm like, okay, but people do say, well, so,
Yeah.
I'm leaving it in, but I can look and see that there are particular words that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Soul is a word I adore, apparently, because I use it a lot.
I don't know.
And where I have characters dying and where are they going, I had to forgive myself for the overuse of it, because, hey, that is what I was discussing. But there are just some words that I really like. And when in doubt and I'm typing, I guess I just fill in that word. And we all have them. If we're honest, we probably know what they are. And so then you can search and you can say, okay, I can leave this one out, play a game with yourself. I'll take out 3/4 of that word. Okay?
Right.
But I get to leave this one here because it matters.
Yeah.
'Cause it's my favorite word.
Yeah.
But you could do that too. And that, because it does become, too repetitive, unless it's a planned repetition.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's what we want. You know,
Mhm.
we're looking for that repetition. That's, giving it strength and stuff. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's another tool you can use. But I thought the best one and it's not mine, that I had heard, was changing the font. Take it
Really?
out of Times New Roman, put it into something that, sorry, my phone rings all the time.
Your phone's your watch?
Yeah,
Oh.
the phone is always on forward to me, so I'm taking a
Aside
break.
from an editing question, real quick, because you are a prolific writer, really. So, for some who struggle with time to write, because you're busy, you work. So, give us your maybe a tip on when do you write? When do you finally sit down and write after you come home and you're exhausted because you've run your dojo?
That's
Successful 400 attendee dojo.
It's a whole lot of work. That, I think I became a little bit like, during COVID, everybody was home, and all my friends are like, I'm writing so much. I didn't write a word during COVID. Not a single word, because I was busy Zooming all our classes and trying to keep up, and we're having to deliver things to everyone's house everywhere. You're ranking up, I got to get you your new belt, and I'm just like, it was continual work. So I didn't write any then, but then as life got back to normal, I went, well, I could start to write. And I struggled with it for a long time, up until probably a year ago, and then I just started giving myself deadlines. And I work Monday through Saturday, except for Friday. Well, Monday through Thursday, I work from 9 to about 9:30. I don't take breaks. I work Saturday usually from 9 till about 5. Friday. Saturday, I work 8:30 until, well, last night was 7. So it just depends.
So when you come home, you
when
eat
I come
dinner
home,
and
my laptop is in our family room. My husband likes to watch his news programs.
On your
He's
laptop?
recorded. So I've got my laptop and I can sit and work. I gave myself a deadline of 90 days to write a novel, and I said, that's insane, you cannot do it. Did it.
You challenge yourself.
And I did it. And so what I did was, mathematically, because I'm deadline driven. Everything for me is, when does this have to be done by? So I'm deadline driven, and so I gave myself the same personal deadline as I would on a business side. And so I said, well, if it's going to be 80,000 words and you're going to do it in 90 days, how many words a day do you have to write? And then I didn't hit my word count every day. So then I knew I had to make it up on, like, Sunday, which is the day I don't always have to work. Then I have to make it up on that day. But they have to be good words, not bad words. And I do have a timer that I got it at Staples years ago. And you can just set it there for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And you can just do a little sprint. I'm going to write for 10 minutes. I will, because of that's why I leave my laptop where I leave it, in everyone's way. And it's always open. So if I'm waiting, my husband's getting ready to leave for work, I'm sitting at my laptop for 5 minutes going, okay, now I could do this. Oh, he hasn't left yet, because I try and
Right.
spend that time with him before he leaves.
Yeah.
He's in the shower, I can write.
Yeah.
As long as I've got his lunch meat. The important things first.
Debbie, thank you so much for being with
You are
us.
very
I'm going to
welcome.
just turn this
Thank
off
you.
now.
Thank you.